Hello everyone, this is Karen from iPad Lettering. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Karen Newport, and I have been doing my iPad lettering for about 2.5 years now. I started at the end of 2015 when I got my first iPad Pro and Apple Pencil, and I just fell in love with it straight away. I started practicing. And yeah, I practice every day because I really love it, and I find it super handy to have the iPad because I don't have to waste paper and buy all the pens, although I have to say I still buy all the pens. Yeah, but the iPad makes it super easy. It goes with me wherever I go, so it's super handy. Right, yes, so started iPad lettering about 2.5 years ago, and then at the end of 2016, Becca approached me and she said she's going to start Show Me Your Drills, and if I wanted to help her with the iPad version of this. And of course I wanted to help, so I'm Becca's counterpart for the iPad, so I've created all the worksheets that you guys are using on the iPad, and since we've got so many new people in this semester, I just thought I'll show you guys how to use this and maybe some other tips and tricks as well. So the first question that I want to answer is which iPad. A lot of people ask me, do I need an iPad Pro, do I need an Apple Pencil? And so I always like to say you don't really need an iPad Pro, but it makes a huge difference. And what really makes the biggest difference is the Apple Pencil. So to me, this is the best tech Apple has actually ever come up with. This Apple Pencil makes all the difference, and unfortunately it only works with an iPad Pro, and that's why I recommend the iPad Pro. But if budget is a concern, what you can actually do is get a second-hand one. So the first generation iPad Pros are actually still really good. I've got this one as my testing device, and it still really works really well. And also, you don't need to get the biggest amount of storage. Mine has 256 gigabytes of storage, but if you just use it for lettering, I think 64 gigabytes is actually enough. Apple has a refurb store, which they sometimes sell these iPads at a discounted price, so that's always a good place to check. And what that means is that you pretty much get a brand new iPad, but it's just the internal components of the iPad that are second-hand. So for example, if someone returned their iPad, they would reuse the hardware that's inside the iPad, but everything you see on the outside of the iPad is still brand new. It comes with the same warranty that you get for an actual new one. So I really think refurbished iPad Pros are a really good choice as well. Then, alright, so I still want to show you that I actually have an iPad mini, which is right here. And this is really old. I don't know, I've had this for a long time. This is probably one of the first ones that come out, and I think this is the last one that still supports iOS 11 and I just need to put in my passcode here, iOS 11 and Procreate 4. So I've loaded the worksheets here on my little iPad mini, and so you can use it. And so what I would recommend as a stylus for the iPad mini is this Adonit Pixel stylus. It kind of works, but it's not ideal, so I just want to show you quickly. So I'm just going to make sure that you can actually see me using this. Yep, you can see. Alright, so I'm just going to zoom in. So the problem with the iPad mini is that the palm rejection doesn't work that well. So what I tend to do if I was going to use this, I've actually put my hand on the side of the iPad, and then I can write like this. So it doesn't touch the screen, but it just sort of goes on the side, and then I can practice my drills like this. But you can see it is not precise at all, and it's wobbly. And then let's try some thicker strokes. And the difference between the thick and the thin is not that much either. So if you can do this, you are actually really, really good. And if your strokes are as wobbly as this, it's not your fault. It's actually just that this stylus is not very precise at all. And so that's why I sort of don't really recommend using this combination. But if you wanted just to try it out and to see if this is actually something you want to do, you might want to give it a go. But I don't think investing in something like this is worth the money, because if you really want to practice your lettering and get better, I feel that you're much better off getting an iPad Pro. Now, the size of the iPad Pro, my preferred size is the 12.9 inch, and that's sometimes a bit of a debate between different people. Some people prefer the smaller ones because they're more portable, but this is actually not an issue for me at all. I find this very portable, and I carry it around with me all the time. I've got a 15-inch MacBook Pro as well that I carry in my handbag, and it's fine, and I just really like the size because of the screen. Alright, so, and then the next question was accessories, screen protectors. Yes, so screen protectors, I'm personally not using a screen protector. I prefer the smooth glass surface, but it you know, I think you should try it out and see if you prefer it. To me, it just creates that little bit of a stickiness, but some people prefer it. The reason why I don't like it is because it's not even. It's not like the same type of resistance. It sort of starts and stops a little bit, and I feel that the smooth glass surface just creates a little bit more of a consistent feel. And then a lot of people also ask me about the cases that I'm using. I'm using the standard Apple silicone case. Yeah, I just like this one because it's simple. It sort of doesn't interfere with the iPad too much, and also it sits flat on the table like this. So it's quite nice, and it's not too slippery. I like this one a lot. I've tried a few other ones. I don't like the ones where it kind of creates a book or a stand or anything like that, just because I tend to have my iPad on the table like this, or I hold it in my hand. That makes it really nice and easy to use it anywhere, on the couch or on the train, in the car. So that's another reason why I just like to have a simple case. And then what I do, I've got this little sleeve here. This is actually from a old laptop that I used to have. This is just like a sort of a microfiber cloth sleeve, and that sort of is where I put my iPad when I carry it around. And I can also use it to wipe the screen with it. I don't wipe it too much, it's not too bad, but sort of this is kind of nice and light and protects it from scratches. So, right, now let's move on to our practice sheets, which is what we're all here for, right? So, I'm going to just quickly show you how to download the practice sheets in case you haven't done it yet. Some people found it a little bit difficult to download them, and I just want to maybe show you how this works. So you would have received your confirmation email, and then you click on the download link. Also, if you create an account on my website, you actually have a little section here where you can see all your everything you've downloaded or purchased, which is quite handy as well. So this is the Show Me Your Drills bundle, and so I tap on the zip file, and you see here that the progress bar sort of stops moving after a little bit, and then you think nothing's happening, and unfortunately there's just not too much I can do about that. And then all of a sudden it pops up with the zip file once he has downloaded it. So this is something that you might just have to be a little bit patient with. It can actually take 5 or 6 minutes before this shows up. So yeah, unfortunately there's not too much I can do. I recommend maybe if you really have a lot of issues, use your laptop or a computer and download it that way. So that's always a lot faster as well. So in the instructions, you would have seen that you tap on the More button, and then you can swipe sort of to the left until you see Copy to File Explorer. What I want to show you now is actually a different way of unzipping the zip file, because you already have that in the instructions. So I'll show you another app. This one is called Zipped, and it's not free. It costs, I think it costs 99 cents in the US in the App Store, but to me this is a much nicer app, and I think it's worth the 99 cents, because this one lets you unzip your file and then you go save file, and now you can save it to your iCloud directly. So now it lets you choose where you want to save it. So I'm just going to save it to this folder here and then add, and now it has unzipped all the files and put it into my iCloud drive, which is very cool. So now let's have a look at the iCloud drive. So this is my Files app here, and you can see I've actually put some of the other files in here already, but this one here, it says show me your drills bundle. This is the one that we have just downloaded now, and then you tap on the folder and you can see that you've got all your practice sheets in here and also the perfect drills brush. So now let's import this into Procreate, and the easiest way to do this is using drag and drop. So let's go to the Procreate app first, and then I'm going to the gallery, and I'm just going to bring up the gallery here. So this is my workspace, and you can see here I have lots of different stacks. So what we're going to do first is bring up the dock from the bottom of the screen, and you can do that. I'm just going to show it again. You just swipe up from the bottom of the screen like this, and then it brings up your dock, and then we're going to grab the Files app, and then we're going to move it to the right like this, and then we have all our files here. So now it is tempting to just grab them all and drag them in, but it won't work because it's got different file types. So this is one of the things you might need to be a little bit careful about. You can only import files with the same file type at the same time. So what we're going to do here is now we're going to select all, and then we are going to unselect the file that says brush. So now we have all the practice sheets here, and then we can grab them. So you just hold your finger down until they all form this little stack, and then we can drag it into Procreate, and this is going to import all our practice sheets. It's going to take a little while until this happens. Alright, and there they are. So I'm just going to swipe this away because we don't need it right now. And now you can see that you've got all your worksheets in here. Now what I recommend to do next is actually put them into a stack, so they're nicely organized, and then it makes it quite easy to find them. So there's two ways how you can do that. Either you can just grab one of the worksheets and drag it on top of the other one until it becomes blue, and then this forms a stack. So you can see here it says stack, and then we can name the stack as well, and we'll call it show me your drills. And now my OCD-ness needs to have this as uppercase as well. Okay, done. And then you know that all your worksheets are in there. So now you can just go and pull them all in here. Oops. You have to hold them a little bit and then drag it in there. Or another way of doing that is you can tap select. So now this puts the whole gallery into select mode, and then we tap the ones that we want, and we can grab them all and then put them into our folder here like this, and then we're done. So another thing you can do now is move them into the right order. So you can just drag them and move them into the right order in the way you want to practice with them. And then let's move this one there and this one there. And so this makes it nice and easy to work with the worksheets. Alright, now let's do some practice. You've already seen me using the iPad mini and the Adonit Pixel stylus. Now I just, as to show you the difference with the iPad and the Apple Pencil. So now let's choose a different color, and then I'm going to select, let's see where my brush is. Yeah, this is a good question. See, I've got so many brushes, and now finding the one that I want. Is it in here? No. No. I wonder where it is. there it is. Perfect Rules brush. I called this iPad Mini, and the reason why I called this iPad Mini is because I turned down the streamline feature here. So if you are using this brush on an iPad that's not an iPad Pro and not with an Apple Pencil, then you will need to turn down the streamline, otherwise it lags really badly. But if you have the Apple Pencil and the iPad Pro, then you could turn this up, and this is going to make it so much easier to practice. So now you'll see that this is so much nicer. So this is, you know, instant improvement of your lettering, and then some of the downstrokes as well. So this is much easier with the Apple Pencil, and it's a lot more it gives you a lot more satisfaction as well, I think, just because you feel like you're a little bit more successful straight away. Now, a question that people have asked me was about the brush size. So what I've actually done with the brush that's included in the download, let's bring that up again. So let's import that, and then I want to show you, because I feel that that's the perfect brush size. I've actually saved it so that it's set to what I think is the perfect size. So now what you can do now, you can just drag it into your canvas and then it'll put it into the import folder. But if you wanted to put this in a folder where you know where it is, select the folder first, and then you can just drag it in here, and then actually puts it at the bottom. Even though you think it's at the top, it's actually at the bottom. So now I have got the brush that I think is the perfect size, and you can see here it's set to around about 20%, and then full opacity. And if we have a look at it, you can see the streamline is set all the way to the max as well. And then let's do a new layer and try it again. Yeah, and so this is kind of a nice size. It's not too thin but not too thick, and this will also give you quite a nice difference between the thin and the thick strokes. So now I always like to measure the amount of pressure that I put on my pencil on a scale from about 1 to 10. So 1 is almost barely touching and 10 is almost making a hole into the iPad. Just so that you can sort of gauge how much pressure I put on. And I would say for my upstrokes, I would have a pressure that's between a 2 and a 4, I would say. This is probably a 2, and then maybe you make it a little bit thicker, this would be a 3. And then on the downstroke, I'd say the pressure is between a 7 and an 8. So you can put quite a lot of pressure on your downstrokes. And then you also see here that I'm actually zooming in quite a lot as well. So definitely feel free to make this really big. And I think it makes it a little bit easier to practice this way. The next question someone asked was about some of the brush strokes breaking up. So sometimes what happens, it only happens sometimes, and I've noticed as well, and I feel it's when there is something else on your screen. So I want to see if I can do a demo of what might happen. So let's say I have a cable here, and it just ever so slightly touches the screen. It's not kind of noticeable, but you might have something that's sort of touching the screen there. And then that's when it can happen that the palm rejection doesn't work properly. Or what can happen as well, see now it's probably the demo effect. I can't show how it actually does it. It only happens sometimes, and then it goes away again. So it's a bit sort of hit and miss. But I also feel that if I wear a long sleeved t-shirt or a jumper or something that sort of has sleeves that touch the screen, that it can happen as well. But it doesn't happen when you just put your wrist on the screen. It's usually fine. So this one, it doesn't happen now. I had it the other day and I was trying to remember how to reproduce it, but it sort of went away again. Sometimes it can also help to restart Procreate or restart your iPad, just to sort of clear up the memory or some of the saved things again, and then it starts working again. Right, so next question is how do I adjust my Apple Pencil settings? So that's a good question as well, and you can do that by going to your settings here and then preferences, and then you can see here edit pressure curve, and you'll see in my case my pressure curve is actually smack in the middle. This is the default setting, but when I first started my lettering journey I didn't have it like this. I actually found that slightly moving this up sort of like this gave me a better result, and the reason why I did it this way is because I'm quite heavy-handed, so I actually like to put a lot of pressure on the screen. So by doing it this way, it sort of took that out a little bit and created a sort of a smoother transition between the thin upstrokes and the thick downstrokes. Now on the other hand, if you're quite light-handed and you don't like putting too much pressure on the iPad, you can actually set it the other way, so you could move it like this, and then it becomes a lot less sensitive. To me that didn't work so well. I actually like it to be a little bit more sensitive, so as a beginner I feel that this might give you a better result, but now I just have it at the default and this works perfectly for me right now. Alright, and then another question was, how can I practice this without the pre-made strokes? And that's a very good question as well. I actually have a template that has just got the grid lines without any of the strokes, and you can get it from my website. So I just want to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go back here, and I have it here as well. So if I go there, and so it's called Show Me Your Drills Blank Worksheet. So if I'll show you how to download this as well, just to demo the import process again. So this takes a little while. And there it is. So I'm going to use my zipped app again and save the file into my Show Me Your Drills bundle folder. Okay, so that should be in there if all went well. Now let's go back to Procreate, and then just got to go back to the gallery and now import this empty file. So I'm going to bring my files over here again, and then it should be here somewhere. So it has here Show Me Your Drills Blank Worksheets, and there it is, and then I can just drag it in there. Okay. So now we have that, and there you go. This is just some lines, and then you can practice all your strokes in any order that you would like. Another question that I wanted to answer was some people were asking where are the week 3 and 4 worksheets. So the way it works is that the week 1 and 2 worksheets are visible to start with. Just going to turn this off, and then you see here, if you open your layers panel, there is actually also a week 3 and 4 layer. So to bring those up, what you would do is turn off the visibility of week 1 and 2, and then turn on the visibility of week 3 and 4. And then it's important that you always create a new layer, so don't write on the layer with the templates, otherwise you overwrite it and then it'll make it hard to practice again. But if you do, it's not the end of the world. All you can do is import the worksheet again, and then you're good to go again. But just make it a habit to always create a new layer, and then you can clear the layer. Like for example, if I don't want to have these practice strokes here anymore, I can just clear the layer and then they go away. Or I create a new layer, whichever way you prefer. And then now this tip is especially for my friend Inga from Sweden. Hi Inga, if you're watching. She asked, how can I write on a black background? So that's a good question. So what you can do here, let's say we wanted to have a black background, change to black, the background color to black, but then the guides are not visible, so that's a problem. So if you still want to have the guides visible anyway, what you can do now is go to the layer that has your guides on it and then lock the alpha channel. So there's two ways you can do that. You tap on it and you just tap alpha lock like this, or you can two-finger swipe to the right. So now I've just unlocked it again and then locked the alpha channel again, and you can see how you've done that when it's got this checkered background. And then what you do is you choose white and then you fill this layer with white, and then you have all your guidelines visible like this. Now these are a little bit thin, so now what you can do to make them a little bit more visible, you can actually duplicate this layer, and you can just duplicate it a few times, and then you can see every time you duplicate the layer, the lines become a little bit more visible. And then if you want to keep it this way, you can just merge this layer now, so you can just merge it together like this, and then make sure you start a new layer again, and then you can practice like this if you wanted to have the black background, for example. So I'm just going to undo this. Now undo is double tap, so you just undo, and then every time you every time you tap, it undoes one step. But what you can do as well, you can do a rapid undo, and you can just hold your two fingers and then it just undoes really quickly, which is super cool. And now we're back at the start. Alright, I think that was pretty much all I wanted to show you. Yeah, let's see if you have any questions. Yes, this will be saved, so you can definitely watch it again. I'm also happy to do another one of these if you have more questions. And also, if you're watching this and you weren't online, you can always add questions to the bottom of this video, and then I'll jump in and answer those as well. And if you have many more questions, yeah, I'm definitely happy to do another one of these, no problem at all. Alright, I think that's all I've got for now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to ask more questions. If you have them, just put them at the bottom of this video, and then I will answer those as well. Alright, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.